Dimas had just received the news that his father had passed away. Although their relationship had never been good, Dimas felt that the old house left behind by his father was the only inheritance remaining. The house was located in a remote village, far from the hustle and bustle of the city, surrounded by beautiful natural views and cool air. Dimas thought it would be the perfect place to escape the chaos of city life. Reluctantly, he decided to move in and take care of the house. However, upon arriving, Dimas immediately felt something was off. The old house seemed long abandoned, the walls were cracked, the paint peeling off, and the front yard was filled with overgrown wild plants. Despite the house's gloomy appearance, there was something strangely alluring about it that made Dimas decide to stay. Perhaps it was time to start anew, far from the painful memories of his past. The first day, everything felt normal. Dimas spent his time cleaning the house, rearranging the furniture, and unpacking his things. The calm and quiet atmosphere of the house brought a sense of peace that he had never felt before. But this silence soon began to feel unsettling. On the first night after he finished tidying up the living room, Dimas heard a sound coming from the upstairs. It sounded like footsteps, clearly audible, even though he was certain no one else was in the house. He thought it was just the house creaking because of the wind. However, the footsteps grew louder and continued the following night. And then, on the third night, the sound changed. This time, it sounded like whispering, whispers that seemed to call his name, faint but distinct. "Dimas, Dimas," the voice called him. Dimas froze. His body went stiff. He looked around but saw nothing. The voice came from the stairs, from upstairs, as though someone was standing there calling his name. A mix of curiosity and fear filled him. He tried to ignore it, convinced it was just his imagination or the wind playing tricks. But the next night, the voice returned, clearer, deeper, like a warning. "There's someone upstairs," Dimas mumbled to himself, his body shaking. With hesitant steps, he decided to check. Slowly, he climbed the stairs toward the sound that seemed to be coming from the top. There, at the top of the stairs, he saw a figure. It was a woman, faint like a shadow, with an indistinct face. She wore a tattered white gown, as if she came from another time. Dimas froze in place, unsure of what to do. The woman smiled faintly, her smile strange, yet there was something in her gaze that suggested a message that could not be conveyed by words. Dimas stood still, unable to speak. He felt as though some invisible force was holding him in place. "I've been waiting for you," the woman said, her voice faint but clear, flowing through the cold night air. Dimas opened his mouth to speak. Who are you?" he asked, his voice barely audible. The woman did not respond immediately, but instead looked toward a large painting hanging in the living room. The painting depicted a family, a man, a woman, and 2 young children. They appeared happy, smiling brightly, as if they lived in a perfect world. However, Dimas's gaze faltered when he looked closer. There was something odd about their faces, too perfect, too empty. I am the wife of the man in the painting," the woman finally said. "My family. We used to live here before everything changed." Dimas was stunned, confused. "But this is my house. My father just passed away. This house belongs to us," he replied, his voice trembling. Yet there was an odd feeling creeping over him, as though what the woman was saying could not be so easily dismissed. The woman smiled again, but this time her smile seemed more painful. "Your father, he is no more. This house is no longer yours. This house belongs to us. We should have stayed here," she said, her voice growing softer but more chilling. Dimas's confusion deepened. "What do you mean? This house belongs to my family." My father." The woman shook her head, her smile now turning into something darker. "Your father is the reason we are trapped here. This is a mistake that can never be undone. My family and I have been stuck here for decades, unable to leave. Now, it's your turn." Dimas began to feel a suffocating weight on his chest, his legs trembling. "No, this can't be true," he cried out, but he felt as though he couldn't move. Every path to escape seemed closed off. The house itself seemed to trap him. The woman began to move closer, and Dimas felt the air around him turn cold. "You cannot leave, it's too late. You've already become a part of this house," she said in a voice that grew even more unsettling. Dimas ran upstairs, hoping to find a way out of the house. However, the more he ran, the more he felt trapped in a maze he never knew existed. He came across a small door at the end of a corridor that he had never noticed before. Without thinking, he opened the door and stepped into a dark room. Inside, he found an old table covered with piles of papers and old notes, seemingly hundreds of years old. On the table was one note written in faded ink. "We have been trapped here for decades. Your father is the one who cursed us. We can never leave this house unless someone takes our place." Dimas's heart pounded as he read the note. His body felt weak, as though his breath was stolen. What he had just discovered was far more terrifying than anything he could have imagined. His father had been involved in something far darker, something that had cursed their entire family. Suddenly, footsteps grew louder, closer. The woman appeared at the door, now even nearer, more solid. Her face was filled with pain and vengeance. "It's time, Dimas. You are trapped now, just like the rest of us." Dimas, panic rising, screamed and ran for the door, but it slammed shut behind him. All the doors and windows were locked, and the house grew darker, as if it was consuming him. Desperate, Dimas ran to the window, trying to open it to escape, but only the woman's shadow appeared, drawing closer. "What do you want from me?" Dimas shouted, but the woman only laughed, her laughter growing more horrifying. "We want justice, Dimas. Our family was destroyed because of your father, and now we will take everything your family has. You will not leave this house alive," the woman said, her eyes gleaming with hatred. Suddenly, a dark shadow enveloped Dimas, as if invisible hands were pulling him into the darkness, swallowing him whole. In an instant, Dimas vanished. The house was silent again. Months later, a man came to inspect the old house, only to find a new painting hanging in the living room, a painting of a young man with a terrified face, standing next to a woman with a sinister smile. Beneath the painting, written in red ink, was a message. "We are waiting.